Bainbridge Island.
Tune in.
So we'll get started. Let me pull up the agenda to share. Okay, so I'll have that up on everyone's screen. I'm going to start reading the vision, mission, and values of the coalition. I think it's good. We have a lot of new people, and it's a refresher for those that have been participating for a while. Our vision is for every person in our community to have a safe, decent, stable, and appropriate home. Our mission is the Kitsap Housing and Homeless Coalition provides leadership to end homelessness through planning, coordination among social service providers, advocacy, and education. And our values, the coalition strives to carry out our mission with respect, commitment, compassion, integrity, and a willingness to change. Just so everyone knows, Marwan Cameron has courteously offered to record this and post this meeting on the conduit so that people have access to attend and participating in the meeting asynchronously. Thank you, Marwan. And as an introduction to the executive team of the coalition, I want to just share with everyone that Cheryl Piercy, our chair, is currently on leave. I'm your vice chair, and I am serving in Cheryl's role. Priya Cherry is our secretary, and we have amazing support from Matt Garrett from KCR, Bridget Glasspool from Kitsap Mental Health, Katie Sharp from Bremerton Housing Authority, Leaf Wagner from Kitsap Mental Health, and Kirsten Jewell from Kitsap County. On the agenda today, we're going to do agency updates, of course. We have a presentation from Jared Moran. He is a Kitsap County's HEART program coordinator, the Homeless Encampment Action Response and Transitions program. We may have some updates from the county. And Katie Sharp from the executive team for the coalition, she has some updates regarding some structural improvements so that we can communicate a little better with all of you. I'm going to stop sharing. And does anyone have any questions about the agenda? Okay, I saw one head nod from our city council member, Jeff Coughlin. Thank you. I will go with that for everyone. And I'm going to post and share the screen for the previous meeting's minutes. They're quite extensive, and that's because Priya Cherry, our secretary, is an amazing note taker. So I'll just slowly scroll through, and then I will invite a couple of coalition participants to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Hi. Yes. John Welsh, and he's gone till tomorrow.
And if you are not muted, please do mute unless you want to make a motion to approve the minutes.
You're welcome. Bye.
Do I have a volunteer to approve the minutes?
I can make a motion to approve the minutes as presented to us.
I second that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, let me look in chat and see if we've got some updates. All right. So Sophie, it's your moment. Thank you for being here. She's going to talk a little bit about a project that's occurring on Bainbridge Island regarding housing. Thank you. And go ahead and share with the coalition what's going on.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. So my name is Sophie Glass. I work for Triangle Associates, which is a facilitation and community engagement firm. And I'm working right now with the city of Bainbridge Island on a housing action plan for them. And I don't think it is a surprise to any of you that Bainbridge Island is looking to find ways to increase the supply of affordable housing, the supply of housing, period, and the kind of expand the diversity of housing choices. And so we're doing a number of things in order to really hear from people about their housing needs. And we recognize, and probably the outreach work you've done in your life, that when you have a survey, you often hear from people who are wealthier, whiter, older, and have lots of time on their hand. And so we, as as conduits to this, are reaching out to as many community groups as possible with two asks. One, if you do work with community members or clients who work on Bainbridge but can't afford to live there, currently live on Bainbridge, or have been displaced from Bainbridge, I have a survey that I will put in the chat and would be so grateful for you to distribute. And then secondly, because we know surveys are not for everyone, we are willing to show up at any meeting, anywhere, anytime, and to do kind of more of a loose focus group. And so if you or your organization has a tie to Bainbridge and you work with folks who have lived experiences that the Bainbridge City Council should hear, I will also put my contact information in the chat. I'm going to leave it at that, Lisa, because you all have a lot of important work to do. But I'm so happy to follow up with any of you afterwards. And thank you for whatever work you can do to really expand the voices that participate in this housing action plan. I think that is my pitch, Lisa. So back to you.
Thank you, Sophie. And I do know that we have like many service providers from North Kitsap and some on Bainbridge. So please do connect with Sophie if you have some input or some connections to be made for that project. Thank you so much for sharing, Sophie. All right. It looks like next on deck, I would say, for sharing any updates is Shannon Turner from PCHS. Shannon, you're
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. It's not necessarily an update, but more of a clarification and everything. As far as the respite center goes, we are definitely going to be doing a respite center. It will be a respite center. It will be a clinical respite center as well. So it's not taking anything away from the Salvation Army. It's not going to be a drop-in clinic or anything as such. I will be working alongside the hospital and taking referrals and everything from there, as well as working with the community also. So there will be, more information and everything to come, but it is definitely going to happen. I was hoping that, as many of you were, that, possibly within the next year, but we're looking at April of 2024 with everything going. But I did want to reassure everyone that this is something that is definitely going to happen. And we are really excited and looking forward to working alongside the community and all the organizations and everything that are here present today. So that's it, and thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Next up is Helen Kuchera. Helen, do you want to introduce yourself and your role verbally?
Hi, yes. I am the new project director at Kitsap Rescue Mission, and I'm just really, really excited to be here. I come from Kitsap Mental Health, so I have a long line of experience, and I'm just very thankful that I get this opportunity to deal with our homelessness and help aid in their success.
Thank you, Helen. We're glad that you're here, and we appreciate you in your new role. Best wishes to you.
Thank you.
All right. Up next is Katie Trammell. Katie, did you want to share an update?
Hi. No, I don't have any new updates right now. We're kind of still in the works with meetings and
Accessibility
getting everything
shortcuts.
together.
Use
Okay,
the tab
thank you,
key to
Katie.
navigate and press.
Next up is Anna Mockler. Anna, did you want to share any information with the coalition?
Thank you for being here with I'm happy to be in this meeting. This is the first time I've used this computer with Zoom, so I'm still figuring it out. You know, council is getting, Bremerton City Council is getting together, planning to get together to discuss some of the, sorry, I'm trying to find polite language. Some of the most inhumane things that are happening to people in Bremerton that are homeless. So I look forward to learning from all of you. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. We appreciate you being here. Up next is Kayla Moontree. Kayla, did you have an agency update to share?
I do not have an agency update to share, but Jessica, who is also here, has some things. I'm calling you out, Jessica.
Okay. We'll just bounce to Jessica.
Thank you, Kayla. So hi, everyone. So my name is Jessica Guidry, and I'm the Equity Program Manager at the Health District. And my update is regarding monkeypox. Some of you may have read about it in the news or hopefully receive updates from the Health District. But our county is receiving monkeypox vaccines, but there's still limited supply. And this is, part update, part request. We have a limited supply of vaccine coming to our community, I think starting next week, maybe. Some of the vaccine is going to go to direct service providers, healthcare providers, but the health district will have some, and we are going to be having a monkeypox vaccine clinic. And in particular, I'm hoping to find individuals who may be harder to reach. When we look at, monkeypox, it is, a disease spread by, skin to skin contact. We do have some criteria from the state. And I'm sorry, I should have pulled it up earlier, but, if you know of, and what I can do is I can post a link to it, but if you know of individuals who, in particular, we're looking at individuals who are assigned male at birth or who identify as male, who have sex with other men, and especially individuals who are experiencing other risk factors. So, in particular, who may be experiencing homelessness, who may have been formerly incarcerated, who may have also just access to healthcare in general concerns. We would really love to be able to get them access to vaccine if we have the slots available. So I will go ahead and post my contact information. If you have any ideas about how to get some of the information out to our communities, we would love that help as well. I'm not sure, Kayla, if there's anything else, but I just really want to give you an update on vaccine. And if you do follow the health district, we'll have a news release, I think, going out within the next day or so with some more updates on that. And that's all I've got about monkeypox. Thanks.
Thank you, Jessica. I didn't know it was the Jessica. I'm delighted to see you. Thank you for being here and for sharing that important information. Sandra Allen from Fishline. What would you like to share with the coalition? Hi.
Yeah, I just wanted to give an update that I resigned from Fishline last May, but I'm still here. They found my replacement, and she's lovely. She starts on Monday. I'm very excited. I'll work with her for some time and be available to help her settle in. But in the chat, I'll put her name and her contact information for you all to reach out to her. And she'll be at the next meeting.
Thank you, Sandra. I'm wishing you best on your next chapter, whatever that might be. And it sounds like you're still in it. So it's also makes me laugh because I think many people here can relate to that. I'm wishing you well, as I'm sure everyone else is. Thank you for that update. Okay. Michael Aki, or Aichi, please excuse me for butchering the pronunciation of your last name. Do you have an update for the coalition?
I do. We last week just broke ground on Wintergreen Townhomes. It is a 73-unit community, of which HRB will own 31 of those units, and it will become a community land trust for 80% and under AMI. I'm just really excited about it. We're hopefully gonna start getting applicants in and getting people in there mid next year is when it's anticipated to be done. And they will be, right now it's anticipated about 100 or 360,000, I think, all in, for 2-bedroom, it's 800 square foot units, right in kind of, I guess, outside the heart of Cambridge, up by the CHI facility. So I just wanted to, let everybody know that we are slowly but surely trying to bring more affordable units to Cambridge.
Good to hear, Michael. Thank you. Jeff Coughlin, our council member, do you have an update for the coalition?
Yeah, I think just one housing related item that's going to be coming before City Council. It's about a month out, but it's gone through Planning Commission and it should be being brought to us in mid to late September. And it's zoning amendment changes to allow duplex, triplex, and cottage housing and some other ways to increase housing density throughout the city and provide some of that middle missing housing. So I just wanted to give folks a heads up so they can look for that in later September to give public comment on that.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate the update. Deanne McCausland, did you have an update for the coalition?
No.
Okay, well, nice to see you.
Okay, thanks.
And let's see, I'm going to go through it. Some of you introduced yourself through chat, and I just asked if you had an update. So just let me know. We can always say hi. It's nice to hear voices and see faces. Jackie Bracefield, did you have any updates for the coalition?
I think she's on call. Her update was the exact same as mine.
Okay, all right, thank you. Tony Ives from KCR.
Hey everybody, how's it going? So
hello.
I was just checking out the data from the survey. So Sophie, we're also involved in a survey, but it's not just us, it's a wide swath of the community and service providers like Jessica. I figure I talk to Jessica every day, really. But specifically Sophie, like with Bainbridge Island. Bainbridge Island has the most respondents in 632. As of a few days ago, we had a total of almost 3,000 respondents to the survey. The survey is going to run through the end of September, and we're going to start doing focus groups as well. That's why, Sophie, I really want to have this conversation with you so we're not duplicating efforts and we're talking about things like housing and the needs of the community. So we're all kind of doing this together. So the survey is across demographics. Every week we'll have a new update on how it looks, and we'll try to concentrate more on specific demographic areas and zip codes. Zip codes, not only where people work, but where people live, because we have two different things. I happened to stop by Kayak today, and it was so cool because Annika had two clients with her, husband and wife, and she saw me. She's like, "Hey, come in." And she said, "Oh, we're doing the survey right now," which is great. So this is what we want. This helps everybody understand what the needs of the communities, what the community looks like and what the needs are. And hopefully we can build our strategic plan around that. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Tony. And if some of you were not able to participate in last month's meeting, that's when Sophie presented on the survey. So there's more information there. And we'll try to post those on the coalition website now that they've been approved. Thanks again, Tony. And next up is Jason from Kitsap Aging and Long-Term Care. Did you have an update for the coalition?
Just a couple really quick updates. So one, we are going to be at the Kitsap Fair and Stampede. So we'll have the senior lounge operating again like last year. No coffee or anything like that, but we'll have water, have some snacks. So come by, say hi, get some information. So I guess that's kind of the big update. We've also, I guess probably like most of you, we have a a few job openings that we have that we're trying to hire for. So if you know anyone looking for work as a hospital care transitions case manager or just case management in general, send them to Kitsap County's website or shoot me an email and I can tell you a little bit more about them. So about it.
Thank you, Jason. Aloha, Alexa from PCAP. Did you have an update for PCAP?
I do actually. I'm newly hired here as part of a program expansion. So we have quite a few openings right now. We're actively recruiting. We work with pregnant and parenting mamas with substance use and alcohol disorders. And if y'all know anyone, send them our way. We'd be happy to help.
Thank you, Alexa. I really appreciate the work that PCAP does. Okay. Next up is Michelle Jaro.
Hello, Michelle here, Customer Service Manager for Kitsap Transit. I just wanted to share, I think I may have given you a little bit of information in the past meeting, but our youth fare free is starting September 1st. And so that means that all youth 18 and under will be free across all of our services. So fast ferry included. A little bit of information just so you guys know, if there's a youth who has an ORCA card right now, it'll continue to work starting September 1st. It will no longer charge fare. If you have youth that need ORCA cards, we just got a huge supply in and we're working on the distribution of those. We're mainly working with schools to start distributing those, but I realize we'll probably want to get some out to our community-based organizations, such as some of you as well. That part's still in the works, so I'll try to get some more information over to you about that within the next week or two. But it's going to be region-wide. The only thing that it will not work for, I believe, is the Seattle monorail. But other than that, everything in the region will be September 1st. Washington State ferries will be October 1st, so they're just delayed by 1 month. But I look forward to working with all of you and getting those cards out to youth.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I appreciate the update. Up next is Lori Reisinger from Bremerton Housing Authority.
Hi, everybody. I actually have two announcements. So I'm going to do the first one. I'm going to pass off the second one to one of my coworkers. But anyway, my first announcement is Bremerton Housing Authority is going to put on a 6-week rental education course for anyone who is right now currently shopping. It is very, very difficult, as anyone who's working in housing knows. So what I want to do is give them some real good training on how to navigate this housing market and hopefully find something sooner rather than later. So my target audience is going to be participants of Bremerton Housing Authority with vouchers. But I wanted everyone to know who is in any way, shape, or form in contact with our participants. If you would like to take somebody to this class and then you can learn about what we learn about, you are very much welcome to. And also, if you know somebody who might be interested in it, you're welcome to share as well. So I'm going to just, can I put a link in the chat?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so here's the link. And so go ahead and visit if you want to learn more. And it's free. So it starts in about a month. And so the next person is going to be Katie Sharp, and she's going to talk about COVID.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to do a quick update that COVID-19 pop-up clinic that Bremerton Housing Authority is hosting in partnership with the Kitsap Public Health District at our property, the Summit at Bay Vista, is happening next week on the 25th from 12 to 2. Pre-registration is encouraged, and I'm going to post the link of where you can find all the information on our website. You could also just go to bremertonhousing.org to find information on that clinic, but it's open to the community. But it's just at our property, the Summit at Bay Vista.
Thanks, Katie. I just want to check in. I think we've received all the updates, but if we have not, you can always raise your hand. Anna Mockler, I noticed that your hand was up earlier. Did you have a question for one of our updaters?
Yes, and I will never use this computer for a Zoom meeting again. I vow. Sorry. Yeah, I'm on the Kitsap Transit Board, and in addition to youth free fares, aren't there also low income cards that are available? I know, I believe KCR was one of the distribution points for them.
There's low income cards that are available for those who qualify. You may be referring to the fare free tickets.
I may well be.
Yeah, there's fare free tickets that KCR is in charge of, and they'll distribute to the community-based organizations upon request. Then they have a certain number that they'll distribute per quarter, and then more can be requested. And so what happens is we give a certain number of tickets to them every January for distribution. They turn in any that are left over to us at the end of the year, and then we do the same thing the next year. And they track it. We track it along the way to see how many are being used by which organizations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Michelle and Anna. Annika, did you have a follow-up question or an update?
We might, it's not related to the presenters, but I was just wondering in general if anyone is aware of new homeowner education classes. Do we have that in Kitsap? Somebody who wants to buy a home for the first time, somebody who will orient them in that process. Anyone with information about that?
Yeah, I'll speak to that because it wasn't through KCR, but there was one of the local banks that were doing education for new homeowners that included loans and how to get one and that type of thing. And unfortunately, no one signed up for the class. The class was supposed to be today, so they shifted it out to next September 11th, I believe, September 12th. And if you like, I'll put the link into the chat right now. They were trying to get just a lot of interest, but I think they were a little late pushing up the notice.
Annika in the chat.
September 14th homeownership workshop, and they were going to have it here at KCR from 5:30 to 7:30. And Evergreen Homes Home Loans are putting it on. So I'll send you. There's no link to a. Actually, there is. I'll try to put it in the chat right now. Okay.
Annika, there's additional recommendations as well in the chat.
Great.
Awesome. I'm gonna take the last two questions, and then just to honor the time of our presenter, I'm gonna move forward and we can follow up with more updates and questions after the presentations. Kayla Moontree, you're up next.
I apologize real quick. I forgot an update that I do have. So we're hosting an Overdose Awareness Day event at Evergreen Park on August 31st from 6:30 to 8:30. And I put my email in the chat if people have questions or want the flyer.
Thank you, Kayla. And then I saw one hand, was it Jackie? Jackie, did you have one last update before we move on to presentation?
Hi guys, I actually just put in the chat, Community Frameworks out of Bremerton does home ownership training and counseling and credit counseling.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jackie. Okay, I'm going to pause on updates, but we'll follow up at the end if you had anything that occurred that would be important to share with the coalition members. Up next is Jared Moran. Thank you for being here today. He is Kitsap County's Heart Program Coordinator. We appreciate you sharing information on this new program. I'll give you the floor.
Hi, how are you? My name is Jared Moran. I'm the Homeless Encampment Action Response and Transition Coordinator, or HEART Coordinator for Kitsap County. Today I'm here to what the HEART program is. It started as a response to a multitude of factors such as new laws surrounding public response to encampments and CDC recommendations during the pandemic. During this time, the county was receiving many complaints and concerns about encampments on county property. Many county departments were receiving these concerns, and there was not much coordination or consistency between the departments. To more efficiently address these concerns, the unauthorized encampment on county property policy was approved by the county commissioners in November of 2021. This policy, in the short term, called for the creation of the HART coordinator and HART team.
Jared, excuse me. So this is Kirsten. Are you sharing slides for this?
I thought I had slides. How am I going to get this uploaded? Do I?
Sorry,
upload?
I apologize for interrupting you. I know you have some lovely slides put together, and I didn't want to interrupt your flow, but
yeah, no, that's cool. Let's see if I could.
If you want to do it without slides, that's fine too.
Let's see if I can share this slideshow. Can you see it? Can people see it now?
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
All right. I'm not going to start all over. We'll go from there. Here we go. So back where I was saying, it called for the position, my position, the HART coordinator, and it also provided funding for a dedicated encampment outreach team through KCR. Funding was also allocated for an emergency motel program and an increase in funding for move-in assistance through a KCR contract. In the long term, there's initiatives to create, to increase shelter bed capacity and provide funding for new supportive housing through the Community Investments in Housing program. So let's talk about my role as the HART coordinator. My job is to implement the unauthorized encampment policy, which means the following. First, I coordinate the county's response among county departments and community partners. Second, I coordinate the HART team. Third, I assess encampments and develop a response plan with the HART team. This ensures the county's response is consistent with current laws and county policies. We always want to make sure the county's response is compassionate, consistent, and coordinated. So what's the HART team? The HART team is an advisory group made up of representatives from different county departments and community partners. The HART team and I meet twice a month, and the HART team works together to develop individual encampment response plans. We prioritize the order of encampment responses as necessary. We try to bring existing resources to the table to address encampments. So what does this process look like? I will get referrals from a multitude of different avenues. I can get one from a KCR, from a community, or a Kitsap 1 through a community member. I could also get it through other county departments that are directly reporting to me, and also community partners can make a referral. Basically, anyone could get a hold of me and let me know that there's an encampment. When a referral comes in, the first thing that I need to do is I need to determine who owns this parcel of property. If it turns out the property is owned by Kitsap County, I will schedule time to go out and visit the property to assess what is occurring. More often than not, when I'm doing my assessment, I bring my outreach team through the Housing Solution Center. After I visually assess an encampment, I will write an initial report of what I see while I'm there. I then take that information to the HART meetings and we discuss a plan of action. And then we implement the plan of action and we coordinate outreach services and other resources available. Finally, other parts of what I do is I'm mapping and assessing as many encampments as possible throughout the county. I'm working with outreach to develop a by name list of people who are living outside. I also coordinate with Washington State Department of Transportation for encampments located in right of way, and I daily respond to citizen complaints and concerns. Any questions? Let me see. Oh,
Jared, I'm gonna, just so we can see each other, do you mind, thank you.
Yeah.
And I think Marwan from the Conduit has his hand up.
Marwan.
Marwan, can you hear me? You have your hand raised. I don't know if it's from before or after. Did you have a question for Jared regarding the HART program?
It was from before.
It was from before. Okay. Sorry about that. Does anyone have any additional questions? I see one from Shannon here.
Yeah, hi, Jared. Question I have is when you first get the response and you go, as you said, you take everything and then you go out and visit the property, and you take your team with you. What determination considers it to be an encampment first off? And then once you consider it to be an encampment, what is the length of time before you literally go in and process that encampment, so to speak?
So the actual definition of encampment in our county policy is just one single tent site or RV. So it just has to be one tent. The timeframes that we've been really fortunate to kind of make the process go slow so we can have outreach, really make contact, build rapport, and look for possible solutions. One of the things that we learned is that we don't want to overwhelm KCR with, too many people at a time. We learned that through Veterans Park. So sometimes going slower is better. Looking at different avenues is something that we definitely do. I think that one thing that could speed up a response time process could be safety concerns. Is this RV draining sewage into the sewage system, or at the RV encampment that was in Silverdale, that's an egress point for Kitsap Sheriff's Department, and they were driving through there, and then there would be kids in the middle of the road, and they'd have to jam on their brakes while they're trying to respond to a call. So definitely safety concerns are a major factor in our response time.
Can I add something, Jared?
Sure.
You mind if I add something? So as Jared said, every single encampment response plan is a little bit different because every encampment is made up of different people in a different situation and circumstance. And so there's really no one size fits all policy. Our policy is that we'll address each encampment individually with compassion. And so there's also a lot of regulations around notifying people if the encampment is going to be closed and letting them have lots of notice. And so it's definitely something that takes quite a while to kind of assess an encampment, develop a plan, and then start implementing that plan. So we're fresh off of the Silverdale RV experience and the Veterans Park encampment experience. And what we found is that maximizing the time that we have to have outreach from not just the KCR Housing Solutions Center outreach team, but the real team and nonprofit volunteer outreach groups, the more time we have to make sure people know that what's happening, receive outreach, receive offers of assistance, the better the results are for everybody. So it's kind of a case by case basis.
Thank you both. I appreciate it.
Jared, I see a couple of questions in chat. One is from Juanita Bernard. Would county response include placing adequate trash receptacles in the encampment?
So at times, yes. What we noticed in the Silverdale lot is that the people would abuse that and not necessarily the campers there. We were having community people, from their own houses bring their garbage and pile it up, which that encampment was, they kept it relatively clean. And then I brought in a dumpster and it kind of got out of hand. So probably would, again, be case to case, like Kirsten said.
Okay, and then one more from Jeff Campbell. Is there a map of where people are allowed to set up a tent or camp?
there is no map yet of where they're allowed to set up a camp. But that's a good idea. Yeah.
Are there certain areas, like I don't know enough about this issue, are there certain areas where it is legal for people to camp, or what is the law or the policy procedure on that?
Great question. We don't have designated legal camping on public land at this time.
Okay, thank you. And then one last question from Jessica Goodry. What organizations are included in the HEART team?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we've worked with Kitsap Public Health. They have a representative on the team. And I've reached out with a bunch of other people. Most people, I don't know if it fits into their schedule, but definitely all the county departments. Kitsap County Sheriff's is involved. Kitsap Community Resources is obviously a major player and helpful to us. The REAL team is helpful to us. So if you would like to be a part of the HEART team, shoot me an email and we could definitely talk about what role and how we could work together. I think obviously the more the better, and we can have more input. So
just to add on to that, the role of the HEART team is primarily to coordinate the county response to encampments. So it's mostly made up of county departments. So like the Parks Department and Public Works Department, the Roads Department, Building Department, all these different departments that have kind of a piece around encampments, either on property that's under their management or because they work with people or come across people who are in encampments. And so it's primarily like a departmental coordination effort. There's a second group that is an outreach coordination group, which is sort of more open to people who are wanting to participate in outreach. And that group meets with Jared really regularly as well. And that's made up of, as he mentioned, the REAL team, the Housing Solutions Center outreach team, Northwest Hospitality, the HEN program. I'm missing a bunch of them, but that group also meets regularly and talks about how to coordinate outreach to encampments. And they, also provide input into the kind of planning around encampments, because a lot of them are doing the on-the-ground work to try to provide resources to people in the encampments. So that's the group that's sort of more open to people who want to be more involved in encampment outreach.
A couple more questions. One follow-up from Juanita. One is, how would recommendations for trash receptacles be considered?
is it on county property?
That's not clarified. Do you want to speak to that, Juanita?
Yes. I don't believe it's county property, so it has to be county property. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
I would say that for an actual dumpster to be put in place, it would have to most likely be on county property and have approval.
So how would I know the difference between county property and regular residence? Because it's an empty space, it's an empty lot, and there are no buildings in that lot. And maybe you might be familiar with it. It's right behind the Salvation Army, I believe, right across the street from the Marvin Williams Center. That's the lot I'm talking about.
In Port.
And Bremerton.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so that wouldn't be county property right there in Bremerton. I think that's probably city of Bremerton, I'm assuming.
Okay, I got it. Now I understand. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Juanita, if you're interested in looking up the ownership of a property, you can definitely do that. The county assessor has a website where you can type in an address and it will pull up all the information about who owns that property. So sometimes when Jared gets a call, or a referral, or somebody says, hey, there's an encampment, and he said the first thing he does is to check and see if it's on, within our jurisdiction on county property. He goes to that website to try to determine, is this a privately owned property? Is this state-owned property? Maybe this is school district? Is it parks? Like, who's the owner? Because we can't really take action. Our HEART program can't really do stuff on people's private property. And so we want to make sure that we're not overstepping and trying to work on encampments that are on people's private property. So if you were curious about who was the owner of that property that you're talking about and you had the address, you could go in and look up who has ownership of that piece of property.
On the assessor, you said the assessor, county assessor?
Yeah, if you type into your search engine like county parcel search, Kitsap County parcel search, it'll take you to a website where you can type in the address.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Jared, it looks like you've got a couple of questions in chat, but Michael has his hand raised and he was one of the question askers. So Michael, go ahead and ask your questions of Jared.
Sure. Well, the first thing I wanted to say is I've done research on this. The 3 lots behind Salvation Army are owned by 3 separate companies. And we can speak offline about that if I can put my email up. But my question is, I know there's a very fine distinction, or a very good distinction between what the city of Bremerton, for instance, has jurisdiction over and what the county has jurisdiction over. And how do we know what that line is? Does the county have any jurisdiction in the city of Bremerton? Is the city of Bremerton reliant for itself? How does that work? And I'm sure you'd probably be able to help me out with this as well. I want to know for the council meetings tonight.
Yeah. So I don't go into Bremerton. Kirsten, do you want to answer?
Yeah, at this point, our encampment response policy has jurisdiction over county-owned property. So that would be not including privately owned property or property that's controlled, or the jurisdiction is the city of Bremerton or any of the cities in Kitsap County. That's because our county government doesn't have jurisdiction there, and we don't want to, step on the toes of the folks who are making the kind of policy around city property. I'd be more than happy to talk to you more offline about, what our approach is and share information. But until we have an agreement to do something different, we only have jurisdiction over county controlled property.
No, and that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure that that's a very important distinction, I think, going forward is, what the county has jurisdiction over versus what each municipality has jurisdiction.
Yeah, exactly. And, we're very cognizant of that. And that's why the first thing that we do is we research who has jurisdiction over this property so that we're not stepping, on top of other jurisdictions' policies or responses. Now, it doesn't mean there couldn't be some room to coordinate efforts or to do things in cooperation with each other. But at this point, we're just, and to be fair, this program is only about 3 or 4 months old. So we're still kind of learning our way around how this is going to best work. So this program in particular is just trying to deal with encampments on county property. And then I saw you had a question. Is that Jeff? You had a question about kind of how does Martin versus Boise play into this encampment response policy? Was that correct?
Jeff Coughlin, I think it's Kirsten asking about your question.
Jeff Campbell. Jeff
Campbell, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Campbell.
So, sorry, different Jeff. I apologize. Jeff Coughlin. I'm so sorry. I just saw the Jeff and I apologize.
All good.
Jeff Campbell was asking about how does this policy fit in with the Martin versus Boise court case that governs how jurisdictions can make laws that prohibit people from doing kind of life sustaining activities in public spaces. I'm happy to go into the legal complexity of that court case, but the county is not passed any laws that say you can't camp anywhere on county property. So that means that we're not out of compliance with Martin versus Boise. It's a very our county prosecuting attorneys have done a tremendous amount of research on this, and our human services department has also had a lot of meetings to make sure that we are in compliance with Martin versus Boise. Functionally, the way that our encampment response plans are typically written, we offer alternatives to people who are in those encampments, and as long as we're offering a viable alternative, and we genuinely want people to take us up on that alternative, most of the time people do. So sometimes we've offered motel rooms, sometimes we've offered gas for RVs if they want to go somewhere else, offered access to shelter, offered transportation to shelter. Basically our goal is to lead with compassion and to try to find a better housing solution for each person who's currently in an encampment. Hopefully that answers your question. And I'd be happy to answer more and talk more offline and go into the complexities of Martin versus Boise, because it's not always 100% understood. The headline of it isn't always the actual detail of how it gets implemented in each jurisdiction.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Jared, I think there was one more question and I'll close with that. Anna, did you have your hand up? Did you have an additional question for Jared or Kirsten?
Yeah, just I put this in the chat as well. One of the specific things that we're looking for in Bremerton is apparently they tried having porta-sands, and the report we're getting is that people were locking themselves in, and that they were tossing sharps into the waste, and people had an understandable reluctance to come into contact with stranger sharps. So I was wondering if anybody had a, straight up practical solution for this one.
So what I learned from Kirsten before I started this position was they put a porta-sands, they had a rented porta-sands that they put at Veterans Park, and it melted down because someone caught it on fire. And through that, the county has learned we're just going to probably buy our own and have them serviced ourselves. How to prevent that? I think what they did at Veterans Park, which worked, was they have the sharps containers located near the porta potties themselves, and that seemed to work. People were using them in Veterans Park, and I don't think they were finding as many, but I don't think you can 100% prevent them all the time.
So what happens? What happens to the fecal matter?
With the fecal matter with sharps?
That is contaminated with sharps, yeah? How do they do that?
That's the good question. We use Moran cleaning, which is no relation to me at all. But they come and clean them. So that's more of a question for the people that suck them out, clean them out.
Like with a Vector truck, yeah?
Yeah.
The Vector truck probably doesn't care.
Right. So the county, anytime we have put a porta potty somewhere, and we contract with a professional servicer to service the porta potty. And I know that they do have concerns about sharps, and they don't like having sharps in there. So as Jared said, we had better success reducing the sharps in the porta potty by putting a sharps container right next to the porta potty. That did seem to have some positive impact. I believe that we partnered with Kitsap Public Health on that, and so I can help let them speak to kind of how that happened and what they found. I know there was a lot of sharps in those containers.
Okay.
Is that Kayla? Is that your?
Thank you.
And I can connect you with Steve Brown. I think he's the one who works with Jared in the HEART program.
It is, yeah.
So I can make the connection.
Yeah, that is also my wheelhouse, but in terms of that at the Veterans Park, I'm pretty sure it was our solid waste program.
And to be really clear, I know that the city of Bremerton is there's lots of discussions about providing more hygiene facilities for folks. I've had a little bit of communication with Joe Walter, maybe, I can't remember her last name, share more information. I mean, we're happy to work together on this and kind of support what you're working on. For a long time, the Housing and Homelessness Coalition had an outdoor homeless committee that had similar conversations before the pandemic started about how to have an urban rest stop or how to increase hygiene facilities. And obviously the pandemic made everything kind of like it wasn't about the pandemic, get put on hold. And so those conversations sort of got backburnered. Sounds like there's a lot of interest in starting those up again. And there's definitely some communities that have done some good work around this that we can learn from. Jeff Campbell put a link to the urban rest stop in the chat. One of the things that I was sharing with somebody the other day is that if you've had the opportunity to travel in other countries, you will find that many of them have a lot of public restroom access for everybody, right? So there are public restrooms all over the place, and that seems to be something that our country's really struggled with, how to have public restrooms available in most public spaces, and so it would be definitely something to start having more conversation. How do we do that in a way that maintains their sanitariness and yet serves the purpose that they were meant to serve. So anyway, Anna and Jeff, I'm more than happy to talk with you, be a resource, share information about the HEART program, whatever we can do to support your work on this issue.
Thank you so much, Jared and Kirsten, for sharing about the HEART program. Kirsten, the public restroom thing, I shared it with my staff, but there's a Marketplace podcast that talks about the history of public restrooms in our country. It's very interesting. I'll put it in chat when I look it up. But I digress, and we have to move on. Do Kirsten or Corey or Leah, do you all have any updates from the county you would like to share with the coalition?
I'll give a quick start and then hand off to some of the other Housing and Homelessness Division team members. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kirsten Jewell. I'm the manager at Kitsap County of the Housing and Homelessness Division. Our work is primarily around coordinating homelessness efforts. We are grant administrators, funneling federal and state grants to nonprofit organizations that are doing the amazing work. Many of you on this call contract with us for that funding. We collect a lot of data about homelessness, including the point in time count data, working closely with the Housing Solutions Center on their data. We publish a lot of data about homelessness on our county website. You're welcome to it. If there's specific data that you don't see there that you're interested in, we're happy to try to accommodate data requests. We frequently do that when somebody is applying for a grant, needs XYZ specific information. We're happy to help provide that data. And we also work on special projects with the community around homelessness and affordable housing. So that's kind of our scope for those of you who aren't familiar with our division. We have a very robust set of web pages on the county website with lots of data summaries, lots of information reports that have been published, and updates on what we're working on with specific projects. I wanted to start today with just a quick update on the South Kitsap new shelter project. This has been being referred to as the Mile Hill Shelter for a long time. We finally have named the building so that it's not just a reference to the road that it's on. This is now being called the Pacific Building Project. So the Pacific Building is the building that's getting remodeled into being a future shelter. So if you start hearing about the Pacific Building or the Pacific Building conversion or the Pacific Project, that's the same thing as what was being called the Mile Hill Project. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. We're in the process of getting that updated on our website, and you'll kind of hear more about that. That project is moving along. We've hired an architect firm, Rice Fergus Miller from Bremerton. They're working with Norm Olin Architects at the Port Orchard on developing the permitting documents for that project. Just because it's an internal county project doesn't mean we get any breaks on permitting or any easier permitting process. We have to submit the same permits as everybody else does. We have submitted the first permit for the project, which is the sort of the land use permit. And now we're working on putting together information for the site development activity permit, which has to do with kind of what changes we're making on the exterior of the building. Most of those changes have to do with improving ADA accessibility. So we're adding walkways, wheelchair ramps, railings, things like that. So most of the exterior remodel is having to do with improving access for people. And then the third permit is interior permit, the building permit, what changes we're actually making in the interior. So that's the third permit that we'll be working on with Rice Fergus Miller. We don't have a projected opening date at this time. That's a question I get a lot. That is completely dependent on how long the permitting process takes and then how quickly we can hire a contractor to do the work. Anybody who's hired a contractor recently knows that can take some time. So we are very aware of the urgency of this project moving as fast as possible and trying to help everybody work with as much speed as possible. But we do have a lot of hoops to jump through to get it permitted. I wanted to, Jared gave you a great update on the HEART team and the HEART program. We're super proud of that work that we're doing. We are trying to have as compassionate a response as possible to people living outside. And you probably heard recently that the Silverdale RV encampment was closed. Happy to report that the folks from that encampment were offered a variety of other options, and each was allowed to kind of decide what they wanted to do about taking us up on different alternatives. We were happy that one household, I think, is in the process of getting into a family shelter program. Another one got into a hotel. We were able to help some veterans get connected with veteran services. A couple other of the folks just wanted to have some gas to move somewhere else. That was their choice. We provided them with gas. So we're really trying to, as I said, make sure that everybody who's leaving there, to the extent that we can, is leaving to a better situation. And we're really grateful for our partnerships with all the outreach and community organizations that are helping make sure that those resources are available for folks. We continue to fund the Kitsap Eviction Prevention Assistance Program, or the KEPA program. Corey just published a new data set, updated data about that program that provides funding for tenants to get caught up on their rent in arrears and pays that funding directly to landlords. So far in Kitsap County, we've distributed $24 million to landlords and utilities companies to help 3,300 households get caught up on rent. So I'm incredibly proud of all of our partner organizations that have been part of processing these applications and getting the checks out to landlords, community resources, the Bremerton Housing Authority, Housing Kitsap, Coffee Oasis, We have a variety of other organizations that are helping us do outreach into underserved communities. They're doing a fantastic job. So it's really been a team effort. We are, however, getting to the end of that funding. I think our rough estimate is that we've essentially spent out all that funding with the applications that are currently queue. So no more applications are being taken through Kitsap Community Resources for new applicants, unfortunately. And they're trying to work their way through the waiting list on that. That does lead us to be very concerned about upcoming eviction situation. We've been able to forestall, a lot of households being evicted for lack of payment. But now that funding is running out, because all of that funding was temporary, one-time, federal government COVID assistance. And as we come to the end of that funding, we're increasingly concerned about not being able to prevent people from being evicted anymore. We work really closely with the Kitsap Dispute Resolution Center, Kitsap Legal Services, Northwest Justice Project, and the Superior Court to try to plan and coordinate our efforts around evictions. But I just wanted to earmark for everybody that we're very concerned about what we might be seeing in the near future around evictions, because we don't have the ability to sort of pay that back rent anymore as we did during the pandemic time. If you want more information about the data for the Kitsap Eviction Prevention Assistance Program, we have a great website where Corey publishes updated data monthly about how many households have been helped, how much money has been spent, and a variety of other demographics about the households that have been helped. I'll put that in the chat after I get done talking. The last thing I want to talk about before I turn it over to Virginia to talk about monitoring is the comprehensive plan updates for the Kitsap County. So each jurisdiction is doing their own comprehensive plan. So each of the cities does a plan and the county does a plan. And that comprehensive plan is the guiding policy document for the next, 5 to 10 years. And it sort of lays out what our plan is around various different land use and zoning policies. So it's more broad brushstrokes of what we're going to do. It's not as much the action specifically, but it lays out the framework for how we're going to make changes to our land use and zoning plans. And this is of particular interest for affordable housing, which is, I think, what you're probably all interested in, because in that comprehensive plan, each one of our comprehensive plans, there is a housing element. And that housing element specifically talks about what are the policies going to be around affordable housing. This time, we do this update periodically. This time, there's more specific direction from the state of Washington in terms of legislation that requires that we are much more specific in our comprehensive plans around providing housing that's accessible for people in various different income levels. And so there's a lot of work being done at the state level and at each of the local jurisdictional levels on making sure that we're planning for various different levels of affordable housing and affordability. I'm bringing this up now because a lot of times people think this is so far off in the future, it's so esoteric, it's high-level policy stuff, but it's really, really important because this is sort of the roadmap for the future of what's going to happen with affordable housing in the different cities in the county. And for the county government, which is all I can speak to, the kickoff for the public input for the comprehensive plan is at a meeting tomorrow night at 6 p.m. I'll put the link in the chat. And I really, really encourage everybody to get involved. I know it's short notice to go to a meeting tomorrow night, but there's lots of other ways that you can give feedback and input into what you think is going to be important to be considered in this update to the comprehensive plan. And I can't emphasize enough how important it is that citizens get involved in giving input, especially citizens such as yourselves who are particularly interested in making sure that there's a lot of housing that's available for our lower income earning neighbors. I can't speak to the City of Bremerton's comprehensive plan update. I'm sure Jeff or Anna can probably do that, and so I will leave it there. Wrapping up the county's plan update for this meeting. Wanted to let Virginia give a little bit of an update on where we are with monitoring, and then Corey, if you could give an update on the point in time count data. Or did you already do point in time count last month? I was out of town. Anyway, maybe you could give a little update on that too. So go ahead, Virginia.
Thank you, Kirsten. So just in the purpose of this meeting, something that might be of interest to you as the public, and a group of folks that many of you are contracted with the county and grantees, others are not. But one of the things that we really are focusing on right now is, as we're moving from kind of the crisis pandemic mode, we're moving more towards regular practices and what they're kind of calling an endemic at this point. That's a word that I've heard thrown around quite a bit. And so with that, we've been able to thankfully move back to very regular monitoring the programs that we're funding. It's really important that we're being good stewards of these funds, and that we know how the funds are being used in the community, so we can then guide those decisions in the future, provide the support to the organizations who are doing the really good work in the community. So it's kind of an opportunity for us to collaborate and provide some oversight. We've been doing our monthly and quarterly monitorings again, but one of the really exciting things I'm super looking forward to is that we're actually now doing our annual site visits again. So getting out there in the community, seeing the good work that's happening, connecting with people one-on-one, and being able to provide people with some of that feedback and answer questions in a much different way than emails and phone calls can possibly do. So that's been a big area of focus for me at this time, and of the county at this time. So if anybody has any questions around what that looks like, if you're a grantee of ours and you haven't gotten contact from me yet, you will be really soon.
Thanks so much, Virginia. And just for fun, the county, our department is in the process of getting monitored by the state auditor on all of our work to distribute this pandemic funding. And so we have a lot of interest in making sure that we have all of our monitoring in place for next year's audit, which I'm sure will be forthcoming. Corey, did you have anything to add? I don't know whether you did an update on the point in time count last month or not, or maybe Corey's already dropped off the call. Anyway, if you're interested in the point in time count data from February of 2022, it is now published on the Housing and Homelessness Division webpage. You can check out the county's point in time count data. And if there's more interest in a deeper dive into that, I'm happy to do that at a future meeting. I see there's a question in the chat if the public meeting tomorrow will be recorded and available for viewing. I'm afraid I don't know the answer to that. I'm looking on the web page and I'm not seeing if they're saying that it's going to be recorded or not. I apologize, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I know there will be lots of other opportunities to get involved, and I'm sure that this won't be the only time that they'll provide. This is sort of the kickoff background, high level. What is the comp plan? How you can get involved? What's our process going to be? All of that. Leah has kindly put the point in time count link in the chat, and I am working on getting the link for the comprehensive plan kickoff meeting in the chat, and it looks like Jeff has put information about the comp plan. Councilmember Coughlin, did you want to add anything about that?
No, just to clarify, the website I listed is still from the old, the last comprehensive plan 6+ years ago, but that website is scheduled, by my understanding, to be updated later this year. But I did put, for folks interested, a sign up list so you can put your email in now and get updates as they come out, and they're yeah, just like the county, should be lots of opportunity for public input all through next year as we work on that. And it really does have a huge impact going forward.
Yeah, awesome. And if you are working in other jurisdictions as well, the city of Paulsbo, Bainbridge, Port Orchard, they are all going to be working or are working on their comprehensive plan updates right around this time. For ours, I think ours is actually scheduled to be completed in 2024. So that gives you a sense of the span of time that they'll be working on this all through, next year. There'll be various different public hearings. There'll be public comment opportunities. So I just urge you to stay involved with your ear to the ground about ways that you can get involved and give your feedback. I think that is all that we have for you today from the county. As always, you're welcome to reach out to myself or any of the division staff with questions or follow-up comments. We're more than happy to share more information with you and or answer questions. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kirsten and county team. I don't think that Corey did talk about point in time at the last meeting, so that might be a good thing to visit at some upcoming meetings as it nears. Speaking about sharing information, so we have lots of good information shared on the chat. The coalition itself is working on how to help everyone share information with each other a little bit more efficiently. Katie Sharp is going to walk through a little bit of infrastructure building that we've been doing to help us to do that. And then I believe Marwan also wants to support in sharing information with all the members. And so Katie, I'll leave it to you and then I'll come back to Marwan.
Kirsten, did you have something before I start? I saw you were going to mention something.
Oh, I just wanted to say, yes, I will. We will. We can definitely schedule. Thank you. We can definitely schedule some time to go over point in time count data at the next meeting or whatever meeting works best for the coalition. And it is time to start thinking about the 2023 point in time count and whether we might want to do some Project Connect events. We typically start the planning for those right about now. So. Any of you participated in a planning group for that in the past, we'll probably be putting a call out for the Project Connect planning teams pretty soon, and assuming, of course, that we can do something in person. Julie, Juanita had a question about, Juanita had a question about the next coalition meeting date and time.
It's always the third Thursday at 2 to 4. But that's exactly what we're kind of talking about. So for those who have been part of the coalition for a long time, every time Cheryl would get an email, she'd forward it out to the group and we'd get all these community updates. As you might have noticed, even if you are on our mailing list, these updates haven't been coming as frequently. This meeting is really the best opportunity to get those updates, but we want to build a system that's scalable because right now we have over 300 contacts on our mailing list. But that's kind of the limit when you're trying to send out from, say, a Gmail or an Outlook account, because it gets marked as spam. There's a lot of things that make it difficult to kind of keep that list updated and keep it managed by several different people so we can get the information out as soon as possible and as clear as possible to the coalition. So what we're moving to is a email blast system where it's MailChimp. So you might be used to Constant Contact or things like that, but we really have been thinking about this a lot because it will help us manage signups for our mailing list. You can unsubscribe, you can subscribe, you can share the link, as well as get consistent updates out to everybody instead of in different emails. So I'll share my screen. And my internet keeps telling me I kind of have an unstable connection, so please let me know if I need to repeat anything. Okay, so first of all, since we're moving to MailChimp, we have a website. I don't know how many visit it, but it does get updated with the minutes and information. We want to start coordinating more updates as far as resources, because a lot of resources come through email, but they don't necessarily get updated and uploaded to our website. So it would come through MailChimp, and then we would have those links to upload to our website. And that's the idea behind moving to MailChimp and using our resources a little bit more. So our email that we're going to be sending our MailChimp emails from, and now you can reach us through this as well, instead of directly through Lisa, is admin@kitsap.hhc.org. So I'm going to leave this up for a minute so everybody can write that down. I could also put it in the chat later. But it will be important to kind of mark that as a safe sender, so you can start receiving our emails. I think Cheryl's changed her email like 2 times since I've been on the list. Hopefully this is the last time since we're using our domain. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, so I'm going to pull this over here. And it's much bigger over here. Just a second, I'm trying to get it on my screen. There we go. So this is the email. I'm trying to stop. There we go. So this is kind of an example of what an email will look like. So it is, it just is very consistent with our website branding right now. There will be, like this one I'm planning to send hopefully by the end of the week. It actually is just an announcement about MailChimp. And since we want to manage our list this way, if you don't want to receive emails, or if you want to confirm, yes, I really like receiving emails, there's just a link to confirm. When you click on it, we just get activity through the email. So we know that you are still interested in being engaged with the coalition. And this is not current information. I took some of the past emails that Cheryl has sent as an example of what you'll see. So I will, if you forward an email to the admin@kitsap.hhc.org, what we'll do is if it's urgent, I could send out a message right away. Or if it's just an update for something a couple months from now, it'll be in this digest. So hopefully, I don't have a timeline yet if anybody has a suggestion on how many times a month they want to receive an email, but this helps keep all the resources together. So in this case, we were sent an email from Bridget announcing the Pendleton Place open house a couple months ago. And I think it's more than a couple months now. And it contained a flyer. So what I did is I put the announcement in the email content. I even screenshotted the flyer. So again, when you get it into your email, you'll have all the information there. Some of these will be links, but we're going to try to have less attachments and more linked to our website, so you can access the information later. And then Kirsten forwarded a job posting, which happens a lot. We all have job postings we want to share. So there'll be a section for job postings if there's something to share. And then we have a lot of resources. So again, instead of attachments, maybe we would have an ability to put them on our website and link through the email. So again, you can access them at a later time. And on the website, you have the most updated resources. Then our missions on them, and then our website. So if you haven't been to our website, this is the website. And I'm just so excited to use it more because it's such great information on here. And when we could, I think we want to post the links to these conduits that Marwan is recording. We want to have just really good access to resources, because I think that's something at Bremerton Housing Authority, we don't have our own email list right now. So we really, really appreciate having this opportunity to connect with everybody at the coalition and being able to provide resources for the community and our partners when we have them. So as you can see, there's a lot of resources on here that have been uploaded. So again, pointing to our website, making a consistent communication. You know what to expect. You know what that email looks like. and you know where to access it later. If you're like, oh, I remember seeing that, food services list, you could go to the website or just go back into your email. So it's really exciting to be moving to this, and we're hopefully going to be more responsive to when you want to send out resources to the coalition. And I want to share one more thing. I think my link disappeared though, just a second. Give me 1 second. I want to share the sign-up form because it's going to allow us to actually sign ourselves up for the mailing list. So it's not a link on the website yet, but what happens is we'll be able to post this on maybe a coalition email signature. On any emails that go out, we could have the sign up form on in case you share the email with a colleague. The nice thing is, if you're already signed up, it also allows you to manage your subscriptions through that sign up link. So this is where we could easily gather your information and you'll get on the list right away. You can change your information, but this will help, again, get you on the list right away, make sure you're getting the updates consistently and as soon as possible. So that's kind of my update right now. I can definitely share this link. And I'm hoping to send out an email by the end of this week. Again, make sure you save this email address in your safe sender list. Anybody have questions? Are they excited?
Katie, can you stop sharing your screen just so we can see everyone? Jessica's giving some applause there. I'm super pumped. Oh my gosh, everyone, these emails, they get lost in my work email because I have too many work emails as well. So I just feel like this is going to be really helpful for us to communicate. Much thanks and gratitude to different people that are trying to help with that. So Katie, of course, she did this. Leaf has created from Kitsap Mental Health. He created our website. Marwan's trying to share through the conduit. There's all really good efforts to try and make this a really robust communication and information sharing coalition. So much appreciation to those people in particular and for everyone for just participating as we have been for quite a long time. Thank you for joining us. Marwan, I'm going to bring it back to you. I think you had a little update to share if you're still on the line. The floor is yours. Thank you for your patience.
I am still here. Thank you, Lisa. I just wanted to give everyone just a few updates. I am trying to post your comments live, so as folks watch it back, the comments will be as the people are speaking. As we get more folks on staff to help us out, we will also be cutting these up into smaller bites so people can go right to the information that they want. Just a couple of programming updates. Lori from BHA will be coming on directly after to talk about her program that's starting here soon. Tony Ives will be on tomorrow morning talking about the CNA. I also want to remind folks that after our summer food program ends, we'll be reaching out to folks. We've gotten a lot of good feedback and more organizations wanting to participate. So we'll be reaching out. That ends on the 26th, I believe, is that Friday. And once that's over, we are going to kind of launch a campaign. We have our contract with Kitsap Long-Term Aging and Care to provide free transportation for folks that are getting vaccinated or boosted, that are either elderly or disabled. So you'll hear more about that. So we'll be pushing that out as we're going out of summer and into fall. On the 28th, we're going to have our community breakfast where we're going to talk about ML King and try to get as many people together in the same room to brainstorm, talk, and build relationships. Of course, we always serve pancakes, hash browns, and sausage, so we look forward to having you there for that. And please subscribe, like, and share, and send it out. This is a lot of people get benefit from being able to access the information that you provide. Later on, we get emails, we get thank yous for this information. You guys don't see those things often, but it does come in. So they're very appreciative that you're making this active. So that's all that I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marwan. We are at time, but if anyone has, I'll take like 2 last updates if I missed anyone, or up to 2, I should say. Does anyone have any last agency updates? All right. Thank you all for participating today. The next meeting is Wednesday, September 21st, from 2 to 3:30 or 4, depending on the updates and information that we have. Thank you so much for being here, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Everybody.
all.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. So as you can see, that meeting is ending. And as we always do on this third Wednesday, we will be welcoming in Matt, and I believe Katie will be joining us, and Lori, as I said before. To provide some more information to us. So hang tight. It usually takes them a second. If they are, well, they take advantage, they might use the restroom, but nope, they're coming right on. So let's move on. How you doing?
Hi, Marwan. Do you have an air conditioner in there?
I do, but I can't use it while the show is on because it's so loud.
So it's warm in here. I'm just asking. I hope I'm not the only one. It's pretty warm, isn't it?
It's 76 degrees here, and then with all these electronics, they do need to stay cool. But yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too bad.
Here, I gotta change my camera. Let me see. I'm in a different place today.
Oh, are you?
So yeah, I'm putting on.
This was chock full of information today.
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, so
how are you doing there, Matt?
So Marwan, how you doing? Hey, Katie.
Well, we get a surprise from you this week. Matt was supposed to still be on vacation, so I'm sad and happy to see you all at the same time. How's that?
I know, it's all the emotions. It's good to be back. It's hard. I kind of re-injured my back on vacation, so we had to cut it short, Katie. So that's why I'm back a little early. Hopefully, we pushed it back about a month and a half, so hopefully we're still going to be able to get to take some time off at the end of September and October. But I just need a little time to heal up.
Man, young folks, take care of your back. You only get one, and
wow.
It's tough.
Cutting your vacation short, though, that's tough. That's tough.
But it's good to be here. We had a good coalition meeting, and yeah, we're live, Marwan?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, awesome. Just making sure.
So we're chock full. So Lori should be joining us, but do you have a couple updates for us, Matt?
Well, I just wanted to follow up. There was a lot of talk, and I wanted to see if you had any questions about the HEART program. And that information is there's a lot there. The program is really new, and I think there's definitely a lot of people have a lot of concerns. I know we do as well. There's a lot of great energy around making sure folks, especially when encampments are being closed down, that folks are being treated compassionately, ethically, and fairly. So. Yeah, that's where I wanted to start. I want to see if you had any follow-up questions for the HEART program, since that was a big topic of discussion at the coalition.
I don't have any off top of mind. Katie usually has an insightful nugget to add or question to bring. She is smiling.
I thought that was just honestly such a good discussion where 2 city council members from Bremerton were there getting to ask their questions. And I actually love the discussion around Kitsap County and what jurisdiction they have. Like
it's an easy thing to say, why don't they handle it? They have a program. And it's like, well, there's a lot of different red tape that keeps you away from doing what you want for that.
Yeah, and I'll just echo it. It is complicated, and so where KCR's involvement is with what Kirsten talked about. There's kind of two facets of the HEART team, right? There's the internal county collaboration. That's where they're actually working with the county agencies. That's more of the actual legal. What property are they on? Are they dealing with waste management? Are they dealing with the sheriff, right? But then the actual outreach and where do we go? The actual response. That's the team that KCR, we have two outreach folks, and then a lot of times they end up referring to our different programs, including the emergency motel program that was mentioned. That's funded through a variety of sources, but really designed to help folks that are leaving encampments get into a temporary housing situation, especially at a hotel, until we can find longer term solutions. So that's really where KCR, so we come in, we're not really making the rule. We kind of say we work with the county and Jared, and they've identified a site, right, that we're going to work with, and then we kind of go from there and try to find solutions. And so everyone involved is very much in the mind of finding solutions. How do we go forward? How do we actually find what each of the folks need? And everyone's a little bit different, right? And that's why I think Jared did a good job of talking. These timelines are really tricky. And she had, Kirsten also echoed too of that. It's not just a one size fits all, right? Because you have sometimes bigger encampments like Veterans Park, sometimes smaller encampments, sometimes just individual, right? And then trying to find what each of those folks need in the housing destination that they want to go to, and even if that's available, right? So just that's the other piece that's very tricky, is that, right, housing destinations that people might want are not always available, right? That's the perennial kind of mismatch right now, and why this is so difficult. And a lot of these folks have been unhoused for a long time, so there's significant challenges with folks that have been living outside for some time, right? And so that's all where our kind of case managers and outreach folks start, and it's incredibly tough work, and it's not easy. But I do think we've had some good success so far, and I'm glad there's so much energy around folks advocating for the well-being, because that's really what everyone's goal is at the HEART team, on KCR side and the county side. How do we compassionately try to help folks get into permanent housing, and permanent housing of their choice, right? That's really our ultimate long-term goal. We can't always do that just because of availability. We don't have all the facilities and housing with our market in our programs, but we really do our best.
Matt, let me ask you this. Based on, let me flip it on its head. A lot of folks had a lot of questions and concerns. Based on what you heard, was there something new that you hadn't heard before? Was there something that you heard that is making you look at it in a different lens?
I think what I heard this time, which is really amazing, is a lot of concern over is what the county doing, is that the right thing to do, is the timing the right, and especially in light, there's a lot of different laws. That's what Kirsten Jewell was referencing at the coalition, right? And she was talking like it. And I think the shorthand is there's a Boise. It's a longer case name, which I don't know off the top of my head. I can maybe look up real quick, but essentially there's some laws now that kind of define what counties and what different jurisdictions can do regarding outline, quote unquote outline homelessness, right? Especially when there's not shelter beds or programs available. That's, I think, the spirit of the law, right? Is that you can't, make something illegal if there's no, option, or if there's no place for folks to go, right? If folks don't have a destination, like if all the shelters are full, right? There's no transitional housing program, there's no permanent support, right? Everything's full. Then a county or a government cannot then go make being unhoused or experiencing homelessness illegal, right? And so you can't now punish folks if nothing's available in your community. I think that's the spirit of it. However, what Kirsten was saying, and I'm not a lawyer, so I won't speak to how that manifests, but that it's tricky because the county is not necessarily punishing folks. However, folks are are in certain public parks, are in places that is really not set up, is not sanitary. There's a lot of different issues, right? There's then the public complaints as well, right, of folks camping in certain areas. And so there's reasons why they shouldn't be there, health and safety being one of them. And so that's where it's like, well, our goal is not punish, right? And that's where I think Kirsten was maybe saying as well, we're not, you know, this is not necessarily illegal. They can't be here. We're not bringing out the sheriff to put them in jail. We're actually trying to find, and this is where I give the county a lot of credit. They really are trying to lead with compassion and balance the community, all the different interests, right? Because there's not just it's not just community advocates that are going to the county, right? There's different neighborhood groups. There's all types of folks that don't want these encampments in their community, right? That are advocating the exact opposite. And so I think the county is trying to balance these two pieces. I don't want to speak for them, but that's kind of the sense. We work really closely with Jared, and he is a fantastic, very, very, from top to bottom, they really do. You know, I've seen Jared move. He's out there with us in the field, moving people's stuff, putting stuff in storage. You know, we really are trying to find off the wall solutions to try to help folks, right? Because our goal is not punish, it's to try to, okay, you can't be here. What can we give you a housing solution? If we can't do that, can we find a friend? Can we find, you know, what can we do to help move in a direction that's positive, right? So any positive movement, that's kind of another philosophy I've heard recently is, right? So sometimes our community housing is so unattainable. So how can we just, you know, kind of a harm reduction lens, how can we just have a positive movement forward? So that's what a lot of what I heard, and I thought that was really good feedback from the coalition.
You know, I wonder, we're so focused on stopgaps, you know, solutions. If you had a magic wand, you know, what would you do? You know, not saying, you know, all right, everyone would be housed, but what could you do with let's say a realistic magic wand? What would that look like if, you know, folks could receive the resources, you could get them housed? Like, let's say there was a Quality Inn that was empty that had 250 units, or however many folks are experiencing homelessness, and they could go in and receive services and slowly transition into more stable permanent housing. What would your magic wand look like? And are we looking through solving this issue through the magic wand lens, or are we looking at it from a different lens?
Yeah, you're exactly right, Marwan. And these are debates we have behind the scenes, and I think we've talked about this a little bit. We have limited, maybe I'll say people power, right? We only have a limited number of folks that are really working on this, you know, in the community, and we have a tremendous people. You know, I have such respect for our community, but there's a realistic amount of time, right? There's only so many hours each week that people have. There's only so much agency hours, right? How much bandwidth agencies, and then there's only so much money that actually comes into the county for this issue. So it is a very good question, is what do we spend those precious resources that Kitsap has, right? What do we spend those on? And do we spend it on more shelter or stopgap, you know, temporary hotels, or, you know, do we spend it on stuff like some of what folks are advocating in the meeting today is more outside stations, right, where people can have bathrooms, and all that is great. I'm in favor of it all, but, you know, it does take time and money and energy, right? And so is that where we want to put our time, money, and energy when those are actually just temporary solutions? Because you're absolutely right, Marlon. The ultimate goal is to get folks the dignity of a home, right? That can look a variety of different ways, but I think, you know, I don't think anyone would say shelter is an ideal spot for folks to be long term. And so that's, I think, a question a lot of us behind the scenes are wrestling with is, should we be investing? And even though they're good things and they're worthy causes, is it better to invest in actual permanent supportive housing, right? That was the ethos probably about 5-6 years ago. There was a lot of folks, there's a kind of a movement. It's kind of re-leveled out now, but there was a big movement of stop funding transitional housing for that same logic, right? Is either make it permanent supportive housing, right? Don't kind of have it be temporary. Like either make it permanent supportive housing or make it shelter, right? And then move people to get people moving through, because transitional housing is kind of you know, seen as a long and slow process to get people to permanent housing, right? My personal opinion, I think it has its place. It should be part of a suite. It shouldn't be the only thing, but it also shouldn't be non-existent. I think there's a middle ground. But that logic is something that at the Commerce, we've had different debates at different levels. So it's a really, really good question. And I do think there is something where we probably need a scattered approach, but probably at some level we do need to limit our stopgap solutions and really continue to work on permanent full time, right? That's the beauty of Pendleton Place, right? Pendleton Place is such a fantastic solution, right? Long term, that's what some of our high barrier programs, right, that are designed. We've really ramped up our case, so we're probably like at 50 high. These are clients from encampments, have mental health, substance. These are very, very high barrier clients, meaning they have a lot of challenges to getting into housing, right? It takes a lot of time, energy, and work to work with these folks. So we've invested in kind of what we do is that case management of actually having someone walk them through the programs and it takes time. Typically it takes about a year and a half to even stabilize so that they can even get into a place, take care of the barrier, right? It's a time intensive program, but the whole focus is permanent housing, right? The whole time even if we're in temporary, we're not just putting them in temporary solution, leaving. It's like this person's going to follow you until you are in permanent housing, right? Somewhere that's permanent. So, that's a lot of what, I think every agency is kind of doing that piece of it. I think with this, what we're talking about, the encampment piece, I think that's where we've kind of split the difference right now, taking kind of what we've learned with the high barrier. We're using the emergency motel program. It is a temporary program, right? It technically is a shelter, right? But it's not designed to be a shelter. It's designed as like, this is a place for them to stabilize until that permanent housing piece comes. So it's really almost in that kind of transition mindset, especially because we have a lot of experience working with these folks and it takes so much time. So we're kind of splitting the middle right now. It's like, all right, we're not just putting them in there and then I got a place to stay and then everyone's going to go back. It's no, everyone is, what are we doing? We're moving. That's why our case managers are so valuable, is that what are the next step? What's the next step? How are we moving? What can we do? Is that treatment? Is that working on your eviction history? Is that working on the criminal history? Is that getting you connected to, one of the mental health counselors we have subcontracted with MCS Counseling. So anyways, so that's kind of what we're doing right now with our current resources. If I have the magic wand, it would be 5 more Pendleton Places, right? Or it would be buying what you just said. It would be buying, maybe a hotel or something that is empty and converting it, or just having the funds, right? If we had 20, 30 million that we could just build another big unit, because that's probably what we need. We need a permanent supportive housing for clients, especially if we're talking about clients that are chronically unhoused. We probably need, 200 to 400 more beds of permanent supportive housing. And so that would be, and that's not out of the realm of possibility. It'd be a huge endeavor for the community, but that's, if I had the realistic magic wand, I think that's something we could probably increase, actually do. With a lot of the community support, we would just really need the money and investment and resources. But that's my number one wish list. If I could just have the money deposited into the county's account.
I like it. So Katie, I'm going to ask you the same thing. What I'm feeling like sometimes is we're all working so frantically and hard, and we're all rowing, and we're rowing into each other and around, and folks are going under and coming back up, and sometimes folks come out and they get stable housing. Some people fall through the cracks. So it's really frustrating, and we can never work fast enough. And I wonder, what's the long-term goal? Like, is there some type of a chart out there that says, okay, this person is in an encampment or they're experiencing homelessness and they go here, and then from there they're going to go here, and then from there they're going to go into permanent housing? And what is that? Do we have this kind of funnel system that is set, or is that something that needs to be looked at and created? And are there any new best practices on the horizon, countrywide or even globally, where other countries have kind of solved some of the issues that we're still grappling with? Katie, what's your realistic magic wand?
Well, I'll do my maybe unrealistic magic wand and say
Sure.
case managers for all, through just a support system
everybody gets one and they know exactly where to go, when to go, and they're confident. I think realistically is this communication that we're doing with the coalition and the communication we're doing now, getting everybody on the same page. I think you are so right about people going above, below, next to each other, and they're adjacent, but they're doing the same thing. We've just realized we have a community connections team. It mainly works with self-sufficiency programs at our properties. However, they are actual like outreach specialists. They're responsible for making partnerships. So when somebody, a resident or a participant, comes to them and asks for help, like they have a person that they say, okay, go here, do this. So like having these like really straightforward resource pathways, that there's the dead end, but I feel like everybody hits 300 dead ends when there could be more that we can do. And from the Bremerton housing perspective, that's one of our initiatives next year for our strategy is, having consistent messaging, having the resources when somebody comes to our front desk, knowing exactly who they can talk to. And that might take partnering with our community connections team. So they're making the partnerships in real time, and then always making sure we have updated information for our people who talk to the public. It's so important. It's something that's very difficult to kind of coordinate. As we know, I think there was up to almost 55 people in that coalition meeting today. And like 300 on our mailing list. There's just so many people who do good work. And I noticed that when I first got into this position, how I talked to Matt about it. I think like it's going to be one of our goals next year, because it's so important that we're just not a dead end, because we don't deal with a lot of emergency assistance. That doesn't mean there's not somebody out there who can help them or help guide that much more than we can, instead of saying, no, we don't do that. And I want to stop that. I want to stop the no, we don't do that, but like have consistent pathways that everybody's talking about in the same way. That's a real reason why I really wanted to improve. The coalition is such a great resource to coordinate partners. So we need a very stable communication system that we could utilize to talk to each other, to share resources. It's already built, infrastructure is there, and it's going to be so important to just really build on that.
It's so unfortunate because COVID was so debilitating for momentum, right? And so it's like having to try to rebuild it back up and, just redo it. Go ahead, Matt. What were you gonna say there?
No, that's a good point. I do think COVID is it was a double-edged sword, right? It put a lot of stuff on hold that we were doing before, but it also cut forward too of that we have so many new, right? Like this podcast is kind of a product, right? As an outgrowth of that, right? So many of our new programs are outgrowths of COVID. So many positive things. I feel like I'm working closer with partners than ever before because of COVID. So I think you're totally right. COVID, it's going to delay a lot, but then at the same time, I think it catapulted some stuff for us. I do think there is some positives that we're going to be taking away. But Katie, I agree with that too. And Marwan, I know such good, insightful questions of, is there like a track, right? And I'll answer a little bit for KCRs. There kind of was, especially, say 20 years ago, right? 15 years ago, KCR mainly focused on families, and there wasn't as much single homelessness as there is now, right? That group has really grown. So the standard track, especially for families, KCR was kind of focused on families, is, all right, come in transitional housing, or we'll get you shelter kind of a year. If you stabilize, we can help you out in the community, either with our own internal or through a Bremerton Housing Authority voucher, or you move into our long-term program. So there was a nice kind of A, B, C kind of flow, right? Is depending on where you're at, and you could exit at certain points if you were doing well. All of that, in the past 10 years has really gone out the window, right? Because the combination of what we always talk about, right? Lack of housing, price increase, the insane requirements to get into a house, the market just being totally, really unresponsive to our clients, is that there really is no A, B, C, D, right? And then the final piece is that our industry has been so underfunded. Like, we actually know there's a lot of evidence-based practice of like, all right, you've been chronically unhoused for this long, right? And you have this vulnerability score, then yeah, permanent supportive housing, right? Pendleton Place. All right, if you're at this vulnerability, rapid rehousing, transitional housing for here, right? Shelter, and then on in. So that if we had all the resources for the demand, we could just have a nice flow chart, and you really wouldn't even need a, you just depend on your score. A housing solution center job would be a lot easier because you would just go into the slot. The problem is we're so far away from that is that because the resources aren't there, and that's really what our case managers do, is that every client you're kind of figuring out the impossible, right? Is because there's not resources for them, there's not housing for them. So every plan that you make with your client is like, okay, this system isn't designed for you, it's not meant for you, it's not even there to even remotely support you. And so now we have to basically make up a path. And that's what makes case management infinitely harder. But that's really what we've led. It's not just us, Kitsap Mental Health, the Rescue Mission, Salvation Army, anyone that's moving forward with folks that has case management is dealing with this, especially with the high barrier clients. And that's why so when we train, our case managers, we do kind of give, all right, here's a standard step, but you're almost never going to use that, right? Because if, clients that are working on that standard step, they really don't need us, or they use a light touch program and move on. Your work really begins with the clients where the system has failed, the system doesn't work for, and you're going to have to make up a path. And that's incredibly frustrating. That's, why we have such high burnout, right? Is the job is, there's not like an A, B, C, D. It's very, very difficult. And I think a lot of people underestimate I love that Katie said case managers for life, because, or for everyone, right? Because so many folks need it, and we just don't have enough. We don't have enough case managers to case manage Kitsap, right? As much as we'd love to.
And that's not just people experiencing homelessness. I think we all could use a case manager in our lives to help us through things.
Yeah,
it's just a powerful resource to have, at the ready, that knows your situation and can help you navigate through solutions and not go through things alone and isolated. I guess I wonder, if this is the ultimate path that we want to be on, and we're way over here, is there some type of a mat? Yeah, we've got to cut through sticker bushes to try to get there, and we're going to go around mountains and up and down, but are we steadily working toward getting onto this road? And what does that look like? This kind of messy Northwest Trail to the golden path of trying to ensure that folks are housed, or as they experience homelessness, it's for a shorter amount of time, and they get restabilized as rapidly as possible.
Yeah, behind the scenes, all of us are right? All of us are working. Bremerton Housing Authority, Kitsap Community Resource. You saw Kitsap Mental Health with Pendleton Place, right? It's like, that's the type of projects that need to move forward. They're big, they're time consuming, and they're, they take everything an agency has. But there are, we're always looking at how can we do stuff like that. So that is, so while we're running the services, we're also looking at that. But they're very, very difficult, right? It is not easy to do. And our community, just put there's a lot of players, right? Bremerton Housing Authority, there's a lot of PBVs involved. I don't know, Katie, are you all supporting more than just project-based vouchers with Pendleton Place?
Yeah, their VASH program. I think public, is it? No, I don't. I think it's a lot of project-based, there's 7 VASH vouchers. I think there might be a home grant.
Home grant, yeah.
And tax credit.
And are you doing the property management over there too?
Yes, we're doing the property management, but that's very different than what Kitsap Mental Health is doing, which is really being hands-on.
Yeah, not the case manager, not the client, but you're still managing the actual property itself.
Yep, we have a property manager and I think a janitor over there. Full-time.
Yeah. So you can sit. So Bremerton Housing Authority is not even the lead, and you can already see, right? Katie just rattled off 5 different programs, and they have multiple staff, and managing a property like that is incredibly. And they're not even the lead on the program, right? And so that's Pendleton Place is an amazing feat that I think we definitely need more, but it's a significant cost. Is really my point.
And you know
But
what?
yeah,
And that's exactly what it's going to take, Matt. But I honestly think we could get there. I think we could build a 200 or 300 unit complex somewhere and house folks and work with them. And it does take time, which I think a lot of people may not realize how long it takes to get stabilized once folks fall into homelessness. Um, to that end, next month's breakfast is really important, and I'm hoping that you guys will be there for that. From covering, city council meetings and working with the different agencies, you guys and just kind of regular folks out there, the prayer walkers and everyone else. We're really being intentional on bringing people together next month at that breakfast and talk about this specific issue. I think there's a lot of folks that kind of feel like they're left out, like they're doing all this work, but they're kind of doing it out here alone. And folks don't have all the information. So when Kirsten was on last week, she talked about, hey, there was a dumpster out at the RV park. We tried porta potties out at Veterans Park, and what came of that. And so there are folks that are coming in that say, hey, we want to help and we want to advocate, and why don't you do this? And it's like, well, we actually tried that. So bringing folks together and sharing that information so it just doesn't devolve into you guys should be doing better. And it's like, well, we are doing these things, but we do want to hear new ideas and how something we tried that didn't work could work, or is there something new that we could do? And so that's really what this is going to be some relationship building centered around food, of course, because that is always the best way. And we'll do some workshopping and we'll have the adults and we're really just going to open it up to everyone. We'd love to see, the Bremerton Police Department there. We'd love to see Diamond Parking and just, really kind of establish dialogue and just create a space for that. We know the property owners and I would call them venture capitalists, whoever, they'll have their meetings in these nice hoity-toity places, but then folks that are kind of boots on the ground don't know about those and they're not there. And so really trying to bring people together and just have the conversation and say, hey, we're actually all on the same team. So how can we start rowing in the same direction and really tackle this problem? So that is next month. But Katie, will you give us an update what BHA has going on, because it is finally here?
Lori Reisinger, she had an appointment today, but if you were on at the beginning of the coalition meeting, she made a quick announcement that Ready to Rent is ready for signups, ready for registrations, I think she said. But it's so important that we talk about how, since we can't have case managers for everybody, that how can we become more self-sufficient and take care of things that need to be taken care of so we can be successful finding housing, because a lot of times a voucher is issued and the housing search, because it's so limited. And if you have any, you're like, I don't want to be in Bremerton, or I don't want to be a certain place, or I want a house and not an apartment, it really even extremely limits your options. And it's really important because a voucher only lasts for so long. So really thinking about how we can prepare current voucher holders, but also anybody in the community who can really benefit from, being more successful in their housing search because of the high barriers that they may face. It's really targeted towards those individuals and families. And also, as Lori mentioned, it's going to be really important for case managers to have this information too, if they want to take it. It's a free course. So I'm going to share the link here.
Yeah, I've got the website here. Can you walk me through where they can sign up?
So that is Rent Cafe. So if you go to our resident participants menu, because this is the Rent Cafe page. So if you go to resident participants and you scroll down to Ready to Rent, and this has all the information about the course. It is a 6-week course, and we're doing signups on Eventbrite. So you can read about the course here and understand if you would be a good fit for it. It is 6 weeks, 1 class a week at the Norm Dix Government Center in downtown Bremerton.
Oh, nice.
I think it's 2 hours each time, and it is for 6 weeks. And we really
stress that you attend all 6 weeks because the curriculum builds on itself. And it's just so important to really invest in ourselves during this time when housing is so difficult to find.
And so it looks like the first class is Thursday, September 15th. Does that look correct?
That's correct.
Right here. And that will be 1 to 3 p.m. So it'll be every Thursday, which is fantastic. Look at this stuff.
It looks
The
like,
intro to
yeah, it looks like she changed some of them to Tuesday based on availability. So it looks like maybe that third one was a Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm just going to kind of read the bullets here really quick because there's some good stuff in here, right? Understanding different needs when searching for housing, identifying challenges. Sometimes we don't know what those different needs are, or what those unforeseen challenges that pop up. The housing priority game, needs versus wants. I love that. Rental history, money management, income and legal, credit and finance. As Katie said, it does switch to Tuesday, September 27th, but it's still 1 to 3 p.m. Goals and priorities, so important. Estimating spending, moving expenses, spending plans. And then October goes back to Thursday. Housing budgets, great. Creating a shopping list, the first phone call and communication with landlords. That is so terrifying and filled with anxiety. So giving tools, maybe even a script, like that sounds really awesome. The rental application process, what does that look like? Lots of questions there. Intro to equal opportunity and fair housing look great. And then October 13th is another Thursday. Safety, maintaining your unit, communication skills and problem solving. You know, a lot of times folks won't talk to the landlord, and it's like, no, you actually want to cultivate that relationship. Where did you find information about the landlord tenant laws, or where to find that info? And then the last class, which is on a Thursday, which is going to be 11 to 1 p.m. So that time will change. How to move out on good terms, right? You don't want to burn the bridge behind you. So important. Folks own multiple properties. So you may be going to another property that person or that agency owns. And it's like,
Oh, they
oh,
talk
man.
to each other. They talk
Yes.
to each other.
Yeah. How to read and understand your lease and the different types of terminations and notices and graduation. So, as Katie said, register on Eventbrite. This is chock full. I would love to take this class so I could pass on resources to our clients as they come in. This is super important. I mean,
Oh, go
super
ahead.
hard.
Go ahead and click that register link. Both of those links go to the Eventbrite page. Go ahead and register, Marwan.
All right, I shall. Let me go
Show
ahead and
everybody
enlarge
how it's
this
done.
so people can see. That might be a little bit more legible. All right, so your
There you
goal about the event, how do you get started? Okay, and so we kind of just read over that stuff there. The disclaimer, it is a 6-week course. The exact times and dates are available on our website by clicking here, which is where we just came from. And here are the tags. And okay, where do I register? Is it here in the orange?
It says select a time.
See, I'm glad that you told me to do this because I might not have clicked on that. Like, do I click here?
Luckily,
All
you
right,
only
so-
have the one option. I'm not sure why it says select a time necessarily, but it is important to know that that is the registration button.
All right. In here. Whoops. Conduit Podcast Show at Gmail. Always good to let people know that. Oh, that's not valid. Email. Oh, I might need to put .com, right? That might help. There we
It doesn't like it.
That says
It doesn't match now. It says so. You put podcast show at gmail.com. Oh, it says podcasts on the first one. POS. It says. This is a good reminder too why they have you type your email in 2 times,
Twice.
because you don't want that email to be incorrect when you go into say, oh, I didn't get any info of the class. So.
And you may swear, I'm doing it right. I promise it looks the same. Send me emails about the best events happening near me or online. You can check that or not. You do need to accept the terms of service and register. That's it. Ready to rent. Free 6-week renters training, education training. You can send it to another email address if that is not your main one. You can even follow the Bremerton Housing Authority. I should probably do that. And that's it. Look how easy that was. Any
Oh, that's
questions?
great. I'm glad it was easy. Much easier than Rent Cafe. But different programs. We really like the Eventbrite platform because it does give you reminders to your email when the course is coming up. So, and you can get emails directly through there. So Lori will probably send some updates. It really feels like a community through Eventbrite. And it, as Marwan showed, it was really a couple steps because it's free. So you don't have to enter any address or payment information, which is really nice.
That's really awesome. Yeah. Like, oh, even though we're not charging you, we need you to put a credit card in. Like, that's horrible. So that's fantastic. Any thoughts on that, Matt? This looks like a great class.
We're really excited. So Brenda and Andrea let the case managers know. And so I think the case managers are going to get some of their clients signed up. And you might have some of the case managers dropping people off and actually attending with the client. So we're all for it. We're really excited. And yeah, big things. So cool.
All right. I'm putting the direct link in there. So folks have it, bremertonhousing.org/ready to rent for those that are just listening and not watching because you're driving. Be a safe driver. Excellent. All right. Well, it has been a long one. We've been going for about 2 hours and 15 minutes. I need to let these folks go on about the rest of their day. But this was, I love this Tuesday. It looks like the coalition is growing and there's so much movement and momentum. And, you know, Katie is bringing all of her skills to bear. So you are awesome, Katie. And you can see the changes as, I was kind of gushing over BHA last week. So, you know, this week it continues on. And KCR is awesome as usual. Again, Tony Ives will be on tomorrow at 10 a.m. And actually, we're working on doing like a Tony's Corner where he'll come on once a month and kind of just talk about all things KCR. So stay tuned for that. We're working on something like that in the background. So who wants the final word today?
Go ahead, Katie.
I'll let you have it. Marwan, you had it. I thought that was a great end to the show. I thought that was awesome. And there was so much shared. So anybody who missed it, I hope they watched the recording because there was so much good information shared today at the coalition.
There really was a lot of good information. I think that is the final word. I will say city council meeting tonight at 5:30. Please speak. Your voice needs to be heard, and you can see 2 council people were there wanting to learn more about the Housing Coalition. So they are receptive. So we hope to see you there, everyone. All right. For Katie and Matt, I am Marwan Cameron. This is The Conduit. We will see you next time, everyone. And I don't think you guys have seen the new outro because I had to switch over to a new show. So I'll show you the beginning of it. It's 11 minutes long, so I'm not going to play the whole thing.
We're going to do it for projects that exist, and we're going to do it for new construction. Right, and I'm sure
you have to contort themselves to fit in your organization. So recruitment